Episode 8 of Sterling Point starts with Ellis and Annie together looking out under the stars. Annie is more convinced than ever that Sterling Point is where she wants to be, and Ellis doesn't seem to be going anywhere either. Now, after a big old montage to start the chapter off, Ramona finally learns that Steve is definitely her biological father. It's a perfect match. Ramona immediately sits down with her dad alongside Annie and Connor to discuss what this means for them. Annie is a little annoyed though, given she wasn't aware of this initially, but she sits trying to process that Steven is more blood related to Ramona than she is. Now that she has confirmation though, Ramona offers up the guardianship documents to Steven for him to sign, waving away guardianship so they can all move on. Steven is visibly hurt by this, but he keeps it to himself, trying to mend the void between this family. Annie struggles to comprehend everything and she's clearly not okay. Steven apologises and explains he's just trying to do his best for her. For now, Annie has decided she's going to stick around in Sterling Point for the time being and not go home. Steven doesn't think it will help fix anything and believes this is all a bad idea, but Annie bites back, leaving everything hanging in the balance between them. Elsewhere, Connor hangs with Denise at her place in the hot tub, trying to process everything by taking copious amounts of mushrooms. Ramona is also struggling, contemplating what to do now that she knows the truth about Steven. She vents to Una about it and hashes out her options, wondering whether to have a proper relationship with the guy. She's even toying with heading out to New York too. Una is prickly over the whole situation and believes if Ramona leaves the island, she'll forget her and never come back again. Ramona bites back though and talks about how Una is only caring about herself and being selfish about the whole situation. Given her own mum walked out, Ramona pushes her away and Una eventually decides they should break up. In a hurt state, Ramona speaks to Connor about her pain. He suggests they should just sell up the island and be done with it, moving away from Sterling Point for good, especially given Denise already has an offer waiting for them. Connor believes she'd have leverage to cut whatever she wants out of the deal, protecting the other guys and gals on the island, while Connor is already on board with whatever they decide to do. However, Ramona would need to convince Annie. In the morning, Annie and Ramona talk about the island, but she doesn't think it's a good idea to sell up. Annie brings up how New York is a tough place to grow up, and despite the facade that Annie had everything handed to her on a plate, Annie has found things difficult. Ramona has never experienced much beyond Sterling Point though, and smoking weed every episode, and she eventually brings up the promise they made about the island. Annie wants to wait a year and explains she really needs Sterling Point to help her healing. Given Ramona is only 16, Annie implores her sister to think this over before properly selling up. Ramona though wants to leave and experience something new. Speaking of new, Connor has been looking at the genetic DNA stuff too, and he receives a call from the adoption agency not long after, given they found his biological mother. In the middle of all this drama, Annie catches up with Joe on the porch while Ellis is getting the plane ready. Joe explains that Goldie actually had a heart condition and nobody knew about it. She was in pain and Goldie didn't know at the time whether this was contractions or not. Joe rushed Goldie to the hospital where she had an emergency C-section. When she was taken into surgery, she smiled at Joe to reassure him during his worry, and that was the last time he saw her. Hearing this, Annie rushes up through the trees to find Ramona. However, Ramona catches up with Steven and hugs him, just as he asks whether she wants to spend time with him. Annie sees the pair hugging and makes her decision too, believing they should switch their lives. Ramona will now go to New York while Annie is intending to stay in Sterling Point. The final shot of the season sees the pair switching roles and Ramona awakening in New York. So Sterling Point bows out with an episode that sees relationships mended, broken and eventually tested, as the island's future is still hanging in the balance by the end. We're still no closer to finding out the fate of Sterling Point, and the opening parts of the season seem to hint that we'd be getting this sort of three-way fight for control of the place, but instead we get none of that and it's basically an afterthought by the end. A lot of the supporting characters have had very little to offer beyond archetypal roles too. Sully is just a quirky gay sidekick, Maple had her coming of age story in one episode, then nothing after that, while Rory is gone from Sterling Point with no fallout or drama over what happened. Wasn't Annie concerned she might not have used a condom last episode? Where did that plot point go? There's no ensuing drama between the boys during the love triangle skirmish either, no fighting between the groups, and very little tension through any of these 8 episodes. And any of the drama that we did see, like earlier in the season when Ramona walked out, was basically resolved after 7 or 8 minutes. In the end, Sterling Point has been a show struggling to find the point of its narrative. It's a series that certainly had a lot of potential that it's basically squandered in the most disappointing way possible. If there is a season 2, and at the time of recording there hasn't been, let's hope that things are a massive improvement over the writing that we see in this first season. Thanks for watching, and do let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Smash a like or subscribe to the channel, your support is very much appreciated. I'm Greg Wheeler, and from all of us over here at The Review Geek, we'll see you on the next video.